Welcome to the event of a lifetime.
Prepare yourselves for adventure, unknown to most normal people, only known to us here at the Snobs Nation. Thank you so much for joining us, friends.
DonnaJean is awesome. She hosts a show where she interviews horror filmmakers, celebrities, things like that. If you are a horror fan, you're especially going to love it. But if you're a filmmaker and everything else and love movies, which I know you do, that's why you're here, you're going to love her.
She's fantastic. Her interviewing style is like Barbara Walters with kindness.
That's actually, that's a good one.
But she is. She's fantastic.
Yeah, but I would never thought of that.
I got a weird brain.
How often do you actually think about Barbara Walters? Let's be real.
Twice a day.
Seriously?
That voice? You don't?
Hey, you guys.
Hi.
How are you doing today, Miss?
I am well. And I just love you guys. You know,
Aww.
Watching you, the only thing better would be actually sitting in there with you in person so I could give you hugs when you're making me smile. So
yes.
One day we will.
I got the best DonnaJean hug first meeting you. It was fantastic in Waynesboro.
I was actually just thinking about that when I was getting set up here. I thought, it's been too long since we've been in the same place. And, Mick, I don't think we've ever been in the same place for real.
No, we need to change that.
Going to have to happen.
Yes.
You're the best, Donna. Yeah, let me tell you, you are the absolute best. We are friends on Facebook. We talk a lot. We appreciate you so much coming out and doing this for the charities. It means the world to us.
Honestly, my feeling really, truly is that we're all in this world together. And we all need help with something. So if there's something we can help someone else with, we should,
Yes. Love
Beautiful
it.
sentence.
That is absolutely the way we feel. That is, well, me. I'm not going to speak for this log. But
That's fair. That is fair. Well, I know you're getting started. So how about I take us out? I'll let you introduce, and then I'll bring Glenn in.
bye, friend. Have fun.
Bye, DonnaJean. We'll see you in a few.
Bye. I love you guys.
Love you.
Okay. I always start this out with hi, fiends. Welcome to DonnaJean's Coffee House of Horror. And somewhere along here, my guest, Mr. Glenn Payne, will be popping in on us. And here he is. There's Glenn.
Surprise.
Look, we have on the same shirts.
We do. I was going to compliment you on your incredible taste in clothing.
Do you know, I took longer trying to find this shirt in all of my shirts than I did doing anything else about this.
Oh, right.
Because it is one of my favorites, but I have a lot of t-shirts. So,
yeah,
Glenn, you are so much when I describe my show to people, I tell them that I like to talk to good people and who do good things and introduce them to other good people. And you are like so much the epitome of that. When I say that. Not only the fact that you are amazingly talented, writer, director, producer over at Dead Leaf Productions, which love the name. You're a painter, and you are a good person. And
well,
I know
you.
like, what can you say to that? But I just love watching what you do. The first time we had the opportunity to chat was when we did the interview for Driven with you and Casey Dillard and Richard Speight Jr.
Yeah.
And that became one of my feel-good movies. I knew it would
good.
But it has. But you've got so much else going on. You did Killer Concept. And when we did the interview with that, Casey had the Kobe Bryant puppet.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah.
That was so wonderful.
That's right. Yeah.
Not to
mention
Stag Wrestle Paranormal, which I still have to get the movie version of. But you do so much. You've done so much. Let me ask you, when young Glenn, what was young Glenn's motivation? What did you want to do? Did you know that
wow.
you would somehow get into filmmaking?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me and for the incredibly kind words. That's very flattering. Thank you. So young Glenn was watching a lot of Disney movies and reading all the comic books, and I wanted to draw comics, and then I wanted to be an animator for Disney. I would sit and draw my little different frames of the Lion King and make little flip books. And then as I got older, towards high school, towards college, I started to want to get into computer animation, which strangely enough, I never actually did. But I went to college with the intent on majoring in animation, and the program got pulled right when I got there. So I just continued in fine art because that was also a big, like usually if you're an artist, you draw ever since you're little, something you do all the time. So, but then in college, I got into movies. I had an intro to film class and started making movies, and then quickly got addicted despite how incredibly difficult it is and grueling it can be. We just filmed something last night, and it was all outdoors, and even at like 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night in the South, the humidity was just like unbearable, the heat. But but you get addicted to the process and the people, and you keep going. So I guess that's a really quick snapshot of my journey, or part of it anyway.
I agree with you from what I've seen, being the mother of an illustrator, that she always drew, just picked up and drew. That's what she did. Did you have any other, I know you grew up with the Disney, any particular, as you got older, inspirations that kind of gave you any direction of which way you wanted to go?
I mean, there's like different filmmakers that stood out kind of, and then Pixar movies too, when you combine, the art world and cinema were a huge deal with, Toy Story and WALL-E and like everything from that era to now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I even now I do so many things, maybe too many, that I guess there's different inspiration for each one, anytime I see a film that just really works for me for whatever reason, it gets me kind of rejuvenated and inspired, because it is a long journey sometimes with these things. So whenever something can kind of help reignite that spark, it's always a good thing.
Spark givers they're certainly very precious things in this world, I think.
Yeah. Agreed.
You're working on a film now. Can you give us any kind of a no spoiler idea about what that's about?
Yeah, so the project that I'm working on right now with another producer named Greg Gray, he's from Memphis, and I'm from Tupelo, Mississippi area. So it's called Safe and Sound, and it's a suspense thriller. It's very much in the vein of the movie Misery. I guess that's a real quick snapshot with some things flipped around and roles kind of reversed here and there. But it's sort of I don't know, my take on that. So I wrote it, and with Greg, had a lot of input and stuff as well. So we haven't filmed yet. We're getting very close to starting to shoot. So as long as we survive that process, we'll we'll get it finished and put it out for everybody to check out. And it's not as comedic as stuff that I've been doing recently, because I made a lot of horror comedies as of late with the wonderful Casey Dillard, whom you know as well. I'm trying to get Casey to do a little bit of a cameo in this. Her travels have kind of kept her busy lately. But so that's the one that's coming up right now. And then there's other stuff, who knows, like thinking on it, developing it. But the business keeps changing so quickly that it keeps you on your toes as to what you're going to do next.
That actually leads me to something I did want to ask you about. I know when we have spoken before about past films, you were doing Indiegogos and fundraisers and things along that line. Would you have any words of inspiration for anybody who's getting into that? Because I'm sure you've learned an awful lot through your journey doing it.
Yeah, for other filmmakers, I always advise people. I mean, do whatever you want to do, but just like based on my experiences, making some very, very short films, super short, as cheaply as possible, meaning spending almost zero money whatsoever, and then add a little bit of gear as you go along and kind of build your equipment list out as you go. But the name of the game for me is always to spend the least amount of money possible to lower the risk, whether you're doing short films just to learn or whether you're getting into making features. Like you said, you can, when you get into features or even some shorts, I guess you can do fundraisers. You can apply for grants. That's something to not overlook. That'll vary state by state. And I'm sure there's national ones too, but sometimes like the Mississippi Arts Commission and the Mississippi Film and Video Alliance or Film Alliance, they offer grants for younger filmmakers to get going. And that can be really, really helpful, especially if you're just getting into starting to spend more money on projects. It's so strange because it changes so fast that, when Kickstarter or Indiegogo and those things first got going, you could actually people got very excited and you could raise a lot of money. I never really hit that window. That was right before I started trying to raise money or do those. But then a few years later, it started dying down so much that you can still do it, but there are a lot of them. It's like anything. The more it becomes normal, the less excited people are to hand you their money. Even for cool perks and things, it's just it starts to change the process a little bit. But
that is the interesting thing I've noticed, being involved in a lot of the indie film world and filmmakers and actors. Every time I turn around, I'm seeing 10 new Indiegogos going on, and it's almost hard to keep track of. So I'm sure as a filmmaker that the more of them there are, the less there is in terms of the people able to be involved.
Yeah, exactly. And I've found that, I don't know, in a lot of ways, you're almost relying on your own personal circle. So you have to kind of be aware of what you're asking of your family and friends and like social media network to not wear them out. I promote so much stuff that we make that I know people will get tired of looking at it. I try to make regular posts every once in a while and be like, oh yeah, I also just also like dogs and regular life posts and things like that. But so yeah, a mix of all those things to keep going, whatever, to make, just don't put yourself in a bad position is always my advice to people when making a film or a movie. Try not to overextend yourself.
Those are words of wisdom, and I've heard other people pretty much say the same thing, which learning from overextending themselves. It seems as though so much changed about filmmaking and film watching from the pandemic, from COVID. And, kind of went from, you make a big budget movie, you go to a movie, and that's it. And then it became the indie films and learning how to do it with masks on and from distances, and then streaming. Have you noticed any, or what permanent changes through that whole COVID? And I know we're still in the COVID world, so I don't want to act as though we're not, because we are. But I guess in the quarantine world, I should say, where people are more comfortable going out, have you noticed a change in how you would be presenting your films? Like, is it more of a streaming process now, or what are your thoughts there?
Yes, so much has happened. Because so we used to always do a screening, at least one local screening. Like we had one for Driven. We didn't have one for Killer Concept, like in Tupelo, where we're from. We usually would have a big screening, kind of get everybody together and celebrate and get everybody, family and friends and community there and stuff. And as soon as COVID happened, obviously that was sort of out the window. And when Killer Concept came out, I was on the road then as well, but we didn't actually have an in-person screening, which I'm still sort of bummed about. And now it's been out, it's just too strange to go back and try to have one now. I mean, you could do it, but the excitement would be kind of
a killer concept party.
Yeah, maybe that's the way to. yeah. It's like, we understand you can watch this already online, with ads for free, but yeah, come hang out with us. So yeah, but as far as our own films, it's so strange right now because it feels like so many movies are being made because the technology has improved so quickly. Even from when I started back around 2006. Like the cameras are so much better and the editing system so much better and more accessible and less expensive. Mm-hmm. You can get a much better camera now, like for versus the price that it used to be. There's that many more movies being made, which is great. It really is. But then there's that many more movies being released. So even when you make a movie, it's so much harder to fight for the attention or the even like spots on digital platforms of like, you may also like this, there's that many more movies sort of trying to get those spots in that algorithm that it's become really a difficult thing to sort of predict how movies are going to go once you release them and how to keep them active and then like in front of everyone so they can decide whether to watch them or not. Mm-hmm. And then of course there's a whole side of filming, like you said, we're in more of a lull now, but who knows before too long if another, variant's going to kick in and then it becomes very difficult to film anything at all. Because so Driven, we had a team of give or take 15 people, crew and stuff, 15, maybe somewhere in the 15 to 20 range with actors and everything per day. And then when we did Killer Concept, and Casey and I produced both those together, that was just pretty much 5 people. That was like, I don't even remember what now. During one part, it was kind of our COVID movie without COVID being involved in it. It was like 5 of us that we're already having to work together on commercials and things, and it was sort of our little bubble. So filming that was so different than Driven before it. But I don't know. We'll see how it affects things going forward, I guess, and hopefully, it'll just get better and it won't be as big of an issue, and people will continue to go out and watch movies in theaters and. Because even film festivals took a big hit too, that people weren't going and sitting together in big groups, and totally understandable for sure. I was one of those people not going, but it's made it all very hard to navigate. So we'll see.
Even film festivals for a time were going online. And I participated in a couple of those, and it was weird. I'm glad that we could do it. I loved the films that I saw, but it was weird. And, but again, I mean, hopefully we're moving to a brave new world where good health is easier to maintain and those concerns aren't there, but at least for right now. One of the things I have found, because I absolutely love your films and I want to know what happens at the end of Killer Concept after that door gets shut. So if you think about making a part 2, I'm in.
Right. Okay.
But, it's funny having Richard Speight Jr. in Driven. Mm-hmm. When I mention to people in conversation that they should see Killer Concept, I say, well, it's by the people that did Driven. And because they know Richard Speight Jr., having that name has them be interested in it. So that definitely was a big plus there. Maybe you need to get Rich to come back and be in another one.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'd love to. Yeah. I'd love that. Maybe on the next one, the next big one put together, I can try to get him a spot in there. And no, Rich is phenomenal. So people's what's the right word? Adoration? I don't know. The fact that people are fans of Rich is totally deserved and understandable because he's just an awesome guy and was really, really good to us with Driven. So yeah, I'd absolutely. We joke all the time about, I don't see a world in which we'll be doing it, but we joke all the time about a Driven sequel. I do anyway. Casey doesn't like to joke about it, but I talk all the time about how it needs to be all set on a boat, and there's like sea monsters and, whatever. I come up with all these, various crazy ideas.
Well, I remember I asked about a Driven sequel, and Rich just said, Well, I leave that up to them. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're the writers. They're the good writers.
Yeah. I always try to say yes in case he says no, and then we can. It wouldn't be in the car though, that's for sure. That would be over. We did that. I had that itch and we scratched it, and I don't need to do it again.
And 0-degree weather too, as well. So
Yeah, no,
always
yeah,
filming in the temp. That I don't know how it is where you are, but it's also very hot here now. It wouldn't be pleasant, some of those scenes.
no, it's almost unlivable in the southeast right now.
Yeah, we all have like a serious heat warning and everything here. But
yeah,
I don't want to get to talking about that too much because we are limited time.
Okay.
So speaking of Richard Speight Jr., if you could work with anybody else, I'm going to throw it out to the winds, living or dead.
Oh wow!
And do a film with them. I know, and you only have like a couple of minutes to answer it.
I know.
Nah.
Anyone? Oh man.
Well, maybe we can say living then. That'll kind of.
Okay, so Jimmy Stewart. We'll table Jimmy Stewart and come back to him.
Stewart.
Okay, so that way I get more than one answer, really. Wow. Okay, it varies project to project. Like for what the need is, of course. I'll just give a simple answer of Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston is one of my favorite actors. I hear he's a fantastic human being, and like you, that's a big deal to me. That's very important to me. Superbly talented, also a director at times as well. Yeah, I mean, there's a huge list. Like I have another movie that I want to make. That's my passion project. It's a father-son, both adults story about a werewolf in a small town, and they have to figure out what's going on. And so Sam Elliott's supposed to be the dad. So I could also say Sam Elliott right now is my number one priority. So if anybody knows Sam Elliott and wants to give him, put him in touch with me. Yeah, contact DonnaJean, and then she can contact me, and I'll buy him a coffee. And we'll go from there.
And we will have a party for that one.
Absolutely.
We started out this bit of a chat mentioning about having the artistic ability. Mm-hmm. And would you want to talk a little bit about your painting?
Yeah, sure. So like I said earlier, I went to college for fine art, so painting and drawing. And then I did galleries and shows all over the country, and have stuff collected around the world, which is a blessing and nice. Yeah, so it's like it's interesting how it's a good balance with movies, because movies involve other people, which I love. That's one of the reasons I do it. It involves a lot of technical equipment and those kind of things. So going alone in the studio and painting by yourself is very solitary. They're extremely opposite, even though they're both obviously very artistic. So I've been trying to figure for a while what is the thing that I want to do that I really get joy out of when it comes to painting. And I played around with a lot of things. I used to do these paint. I call them film noir. No, sorry, I call them paint noir. But there were these film noir black and white paintings. But here recently, I've been doing some toy paintings, setting up still lifes and lighting them like if they were little movie sets, which kind of connects back to my Pixar love. A lot of people tell me they look like Pixar images, which is a huge compliment. I'll take.
I thought that when I saw
yeah,
it, that's what I thought.
I've only done 3 so far because I've been so busy recently with movie stuff and commercials and stuff like that. But I'm really enjoying those, so I'm going to keep looking into that series. And it's playful, but also can be kind of serious and dramatic. So I get a little bit of, it's one of the reasons I like horror comedies so much, is that you get a little bit from each, all the things that you like in one package, kind of. So for painting, these have become that for me for now. So I'm looking forward to trying those even more and more. And I have prints available. I'm actually I did a convention in Tupelo Con, and I'm doing one in Kentucky in October called Scarefest, I believe. Because I used to travel doing art shows, outdoor, like art festivals. But now, so conventions are like like there's some similarities because you have a booth and you're selling your prints and things. So I'm gonna continue to do some horror artwork and sell copies of those at that. So yeah, it's interesting. We'll see. And Robert Englund's gonna be there, so and maybe Kane Hodder as well. So maybe I can sneak around and say hi.
I'm gonna have to make sure I let people know about the Scare Fest too. So
yeah, I'll have a booth. I'm gonna drop your name when I try to meet these famous horror icons. We've talked about that before.
Well, if you see Kane, please
Yeah,
give him a big hug from me.
I will. I think he's gonna be there. I think he's gonna be there too. Could be wrong. But
I could go into so many stories about some of these people and
yeah,
the kindness that is in their hearts. But since we don't have all that much time,
yeah.
so you do have some of those prints for sale. Would you mind, since we're live here, would you mind shooting me a link to that, and I'll post it on the Facebook page if anybody wants to see them and maybe buy them?
Sure. Absolutely. Let's see here. So good.
I'll send you a message and remind you.
Yeah, that sounds good. We can do that. Yeah. And I hope people enjoy them. They've been fun.
Well, if people don't enjoy them, they just won't buy them.
Yeah, that's okay. And that's okay too.
But I can't imagine that they wouldn't, because I really enjoyed what I saw, and I think anything that gives you kind of a feeling, and has you think about that is always a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I've tried to pack in.
So we're running down to a couple of minutes here. So all of the things that you do you ever find that between like being the screenwriter, or being a producer, being a director, an actor, do you ever find that there's a conflict? It's difficult to wear all of those hats.
Mainly just due to spreading your energy and attention and hours across all the things is probably the biggest. I don't know, like it's not horribly difficult to just compartmentalize and jump from one to the other. Like when it's time to get to paint or to act and not direct, or you just sort of like take a second and adjust and do that. Yeah, I think just exhaustion is probably the biggest problem. Just generally doing too many things, and I think a lot of us are probably guilty of that. But yeah, I think actually doing them it's not that hard to separate them. But yeah, just the energy, that's an issue. Too much stuff.
Would you have any closing comments, word of advice for people getting into this about how to particularly take care of themselves when they're finding themselves getting exhausted like that?
Well, some advice that I should take myself, and maybe one day I will, is to try to, give yourself time to rest and relax and do some things that aren't as intensive. That's probably my biggest weakness, is doing that. It's great to work super hard all the time, which a lot of people try to do. I'm one of them. But if you don't refuel, you can't give it your all. So I'm trying to work on that myself. I'm not doing a very good job right now at this span, but maybe next month I'll be able to do that a little more. But one of the ways that I do it in very small doses is, like when I do sit down and watch TV and try to relax at the end of the day or something, I'll try to find, like you said, a feel-good movie or show. Like I've been going through so many comedies. Like I went through a long time where I didn't watch all that many rom-coms when I was younger. I don't know. I just thought they weren't for me. And now I'm going back and watching them because I got 20 years of like these, because they're comedies too, So anything that's kind of light and even like horror comedies or anything in that vein, like that gives you a little bit of a breather from the heaviness of the world, I guess. I've been trying to take those projects and enjoy them, something lighter.
I think that's words of wisdom, and it looks like there they are. Bump. So
Hello.
Guys, thank you so much for doing this. We want to jump in and say, Glenn, thank you. DonnaJean, thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
Really appreciate it, because this is a huge thing we're trying to undertaking with this charity that we're trying to do. And, it's always experimental when you get into it. It's our third time doing it, but it's still very much an experiment.
And y'all really help. I mean, that was a fantastic interview. Thank you so much for that. And DonnaJean, tell everyone where they can find you.
Yes, absolutely.
DonnaJean's Coffee House of Horror is a room. What I call it is a room in the house of Nerd Box. So the Nerd Box channel on YouTube, and I also have go into my playlist, DonnaJean's Coffee House of Horror, and we have sometimes little snippets that are called A Shot of Espresso. Check that out. And on Facebook, I do have kind of a weird little community of which some of the people I've interviewed, some of the people who have listened, just a bunch of good people. They also keep us updated. Occasionally I have a filmmaker saying, hey, I need people for this, and I'll post it in there. So find me on YouTube, find me on Facebook. And I also am kind of weird about volunteering at conventions, and I do a lot of shout outs at conventions, which is actually how my show started. So I volunteer at all the Monster Manias. I'm at Living Dead Weekend now, and a bunch of other smaller shows. So
that's fantastic, and I love the show. We've talked about before. You've had me on, and I've always appreciated that. And again, thanks so much, Glenn. Where can we find your movies?
Most of them Driven, Killer Concept, and Stag Wrestle Paranormal now are all on like Amazon and Tubi. You can watch for free on both of those with ads. Even YouTube now. YouTube is through our distributor. You can watch stuff on there for free, just with ads, of course.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely go check out Glenn's movies for sure. And guys, thank you again so much.
We appreciate it.
Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
We're gonna start getting everybody situated. We have our next person coming on now, but we want to say goodbye to you guys and thank you again. And we will talk to you guys soon.
Bye.